Hey, hi all. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I hope you all are doing good. So today we'll talk about Oracle database architecture. Okay. So if I say, like Oracle database architecture, basically it comprises three components: your Oracle processes, Oracle database instance, and like Oracle database files. So all these three components basically forms Oracle database architecture. So in this video, we'll try to understand in detail all these three components. Okay, so keep watching. But if you have not yet subscribed my channel, please go ahead and subscribe it. Okay, and please keep providing your comment in the comment box. That will motivate me in order to create more such videos. Okay, so let's jump into the session. Okay, so let's talk about Oracle database architecture. Okay, so as I said, it basically involves three major components: Oracle database processes, Oracle database instance, and Oracle database files. Okay, so when user initiate any sort of request, it goes to server processes. Okay, so user processes can be initiated from any sort of application. Okay, or maybe like some sort of console like SQL star plus. Okay, so whatever request user is going to initiate or initiating, it will go to server processes. Okay, then this server processes basically interact with database instance. Okay, now database instances, it basically comprises two components. One is system global area and other one is background processes. Okay, now system global area, it's basically a shared memory initiated by Oracle database instance. Okay, under this shared pool, large pool, Java pool, streams pool, database buffer cache and Redolog buffers basically resided. Okay, then we have background processes. Okay, so when any database instance is started, various background processes runs into a background. Okay, so basically database writer, system monitor, process monitor, all these background processes runs in a background. Okay, then we have PGA also, which is basically stands for Program Global Area. Okay, it's a non-shared memory initiated by Oracle database server. Okay, for each and every server processes, there will be one PGA. So PGA basically contains data information and control information related to server processes. Okay, now this database instance, it basically interact with Oracle database files. Okay, so majorly three database files are there: control files, data files, and redo log files. Okay, so control files, it basically contains the physical structure of the database. Basically database name, redo log files name, data files name, and its location, all these gets captured in this particular file. Okay, then we have data file. Okay, so data file actually contains the actual data. Okay, basically user data, metadata, all this kind of information gets captured in data files. Okay, also one or more data files forms a logical unit that is called table space. Okay, then we have redo log files. Okay, so redo log files basically contains changes made to the database. Okay, so that in case of any failure or any database crashes, like if we want to restore the data, okay, so we can restore it using redo log files. Okay, now we have one process called listener process, which basically establishes connection between user processes and server processes. Okay, so what it does, it basically like listen requests from user application and validate them and then redirect it to server process. Okay, so basically the Oracle listener, it manages incoming requests from client, validate them and then direct them to the appropriate database instance. It serves as a bridge between client application and the Oracle database server. Now we have two important files related to that. One is listener.ora, which basically contains configuration detail for the listener, okay, such as which services it will handle and on which network address it will listen. Okay, what protocol it will be used. So all this information gets stored in listener.aura. Okay. Now there is another file named tnsnames.aura, which basically stores your database information. Basically, your database server IP address and port information gets captured in this particular file. If you want to connect to one particular database, then you need to make entry in this particular file for database server IP address, like the host IP address and port information. Then only you would be able to connect to that particular database. Okay. Also, if you want to make any sort of alias, if you want to give any alias to any database name, that also you can maintain in this particular file. Okay. So listener process, whatever client or whatever user has maintained connection details in tnsnames.aura. Okay, it basically validates listener process. It basically validates. Okay, if all is valid, then further operation can be initiated or further steps can be taken. Okay, so these two are important files in terms of establishing connection between client and server processes. Okay, so that's a brief about Oracle database architecture, how it actually looks. Okay, hope if it would have given you some some rough idea about it. Okay, now we'll go through all these components in detail. Okay, so processes in Oracle. Okay, so what exactly a process in Oracle? Okay, so actually an Oracle process, it's basically a unit of execution that runs the database code. Okay, now there are three different processes involved. Okay, in Oracle. So basically first one is user or client process. Okay, so this process is basically used to execute the software code of the application program. Okay, for example SQL star plus, that's a basically a console from where we can invoke any sort of SQL code. Okay, so when a user runs an application, okay, actually operating system creates a client process to run the user application. Okay, this user process always communicate with database through a server process. Okay, as we discussed during that architecture discussion. Okay, so user process goes to server process and server process basically interact with the database instance. Okay, then we have server process. Okay, so server process basically receive communication from the user process. Okay, when a user process requests connection, server process establish connection with the Oracle instance. Okay, so that's actually a primary goal of server process. Okay, then we have background process. So background processes are a set of background processes for an Oracle instances. Okay, so when we start any Oracle instance, couple of background processes runs in the background, which basically keep doing, keep monitoring the performance of Oracle databases. Okay, different sort of, log features, log related processes are there. Okay, so all those are basically background processes. Okay, so all these runs in the background. Okay, when any sort of Oracle instances started. Okay, now there are a couple of background processes, as I said. Okay, so database writer. Okay, so database writer, it basically handles all the read write operation on data files. Okay, it basically manages database buffers. Log writer. Okay, so this process basically writes online redo log and reads the redo log buffers. Okay, so it performs both way operation. Okay, on one way it writes to redo log. Okay, on other way it reads from log buffers. Okay, then we have system monitor. Okay, so this basically performs instance recovery at startup. Okay, it handles cleaning up temporary segments that are no longer in use. Process monitor. Okay, so this performs process recovery when a user process fails. Okay, it also cleaning up the cache and freeing up resources that the process was using. Okay, then we have process manager. Okay, so process manager oversees or monitor several background processes. Okay, so that's actually a primary, objective of this particular process. Okay, it keeps monitoring different shared pools, different pool servers and job queue processes. Then listener registration process. Okay, as we talked earlier, okay, listener basically, receive requests from client process, okay, and share the information with server process in order to take it forward. Okay, so this process basically notifies the listener about instances, services and endpoints. Okay, checkpoint. Checkpoint process is responsible for maintaining data files and control files, okay, with the most recent checkpoint information, okay, which is quite useful in terms of, any crashes or any database failure. If you want to restore the databases, okay, this checkpoint information is quite useful. Now we have manageability monitor processes, okay, under which two important processes are there, MMON and MMNL. Okay, now MMON performs many tasks related to automatic workload repository, okay, which is basically AWR. Okay, for example, MMON writes when a metric violates its threshold value, taking different shot of snapshot, capturing statistics value for recently modified SQL. Okay, so this is basically primary objective of this particular process. Okay, now there is a term called AWR or automatic workload repository. Okay, so AWR, it's a feature of Oracle database that collects and stores performance data over time. It's a crucial component for performance tuning and diagnostic. Okay, now we have manageability monitor light process. Okay, so this process basically writes states from the active session history buffer in the SGA to disk. Okay, so this basically writes to disk when the active session history buffer is full. Okay, now what is active session history? Okay, so ASH, it's basically a feature in Oracle DB that provides real-time insight into session activity. Okay, it captures data about active session which can be crucial in understanding current workload and diagnosing different sort of performance issues. Okay, then we have recoverer. Okay, this process is responsible for resolving distributed transaction and handle network or system failures in distributed database environment. Okay, then we have archiver. Okay, so this process runs only when an Oracle database server is in archiving mode. Okay, so this process copies online redo files to archives during the log switches. Dispatcher, it's basically used in multi-threaded environment. Okay, so dispatcher process is responsible for routing requests from user process to server process and sending back response to the appropriate user process. So that's about some main processes which falls under background processes. Okay, now SGA, System Global Area. So SGA is basically a group of shared memory structure which Oracle allocates at a time of instance startup. Okay, so whenever any database instance is started, Oracle automatically allocates some shared memory that is called SGA. Okay, now SGA contains certain components. Okay, so following are components: database buffer. Okay, it actually stores copy of data blocks read from data files. Okay, when any query is executed, Oracle first check this cache to see if data is already in memory. Okay, if it's there, it uses the same data. So that basically helps in order to improve database performance. Then we have redo log buffer. Okay, so it stores redo log entries. Okay, before they are written to redo log files on disk. Okay, this buffer is essential for database recovery, ensuring that changes can be recovered in the event of any sort of failure. Java pool. used specifically for Java related operation and objects in the database. Then shared pool, okay, contains various memory areas that are used to store shared SQL statements. Okay. Large pool, it basically provides memory for large allocation that are not suitable for shared pool, okay, such as Oracle Recovery Manager, backup and restore operations. Okay, any sort of large operations that basically uses this large pool memory. Stream pools used by Oracle streams, okay, this is quite useful in terms of any sort of replication, database replication, okay, so manages memory for streaming processes. So that's about SGA, and these are basically components, all the major components of SGA. Okay. Program Global Area, PGA. So PGA is also a memory region that contains data and control information for a server process. Okay. Unlike SGA, it's a non-shared memory. Okay. It's basically created by Oracle database when a server process is started. Okay. So please remember one thing, that there will be always one PGA for each and every server process. Okay. So like SGA, PGA also involves certain components. Now you would be able to see architecture of PGA. It basically contains different memory regions. Okay. Under PGA, there is a term called UGA, User Global Area, which basically contains SQL work area, session memory, and private SQL areas. Okay. Now let's try to understand all these components in details. SQL work areas. Okay. So this basically, like used for any sort of sorting operations. Okay. Whenever we do any sort of sorting using order by, group by clause, okay, Oracle uses some temporary area and that stores results in that temporary area. Okay. For that purpose, this SQL work areas, okay, that's comes into picture. Okay. Then we have session memory. Okay. This basically, stores different sort of session information. Okay. Such as your login information. Okay. And other information which is required for database session. Okay. So that's the objective of using session memory. Then we have private SQL area. Okay. This basically holds information about a past SQL statement and other session specific information for processing. Okay. Under private SQL area, there are two areas, persistent area and runtime area. Okay. So persistent area, it basically contains bind variable values. Okay. And runtime area contains query execution state information. Okay. A database cursor that also uses private SQL area. Okay. Then we have stake space. Okay. It's basically, allocated to hold session variables and arrays. Hash area. It's basically used to perform different sort of, hash joins. Okay. Then we have bitmap merge area. Okay. Used to merge data retrieved from scans of multiple bitmap indexes. Okay. So that's about program global area. Okay. Now let's quickly talk about files in Oracle. Okay. First one is parameter files. It basically contains different sort of configuration setting for Oracle instance. Okay. There are two major files under this category. One is init.ora. Okay. It should be stored at least on two different devices. If one is corrupt, then other file can work. Okay. Different sort of information, it gets stored in this particular file, like number of server of Oracle, it's written in this particular file. Then we have server parameter file, SP file. Okay. It's basically a binary file used for more dynamic and automatic configuration management. Then Redolog files. Okay. It's used by the DBMS to store the changes made to the database. Okay. So if any sort of, failure or crashes happens, these logs can be used in order to restore the database. Archive log file. Okay. So archive log file, it's a kind of redo log files. Okay. It is quite useful at a time of recovery. Okay. It can be configured at archive log destination directory. Then control files. Okay. So when database is created, it has one control file. Okay. Control file stores the physical structure of the database. Okay. Like database name, name of data files, redo log files, and its location. All these gets stored in control files. Then we have data files. Okay. So data files actually contains the data. Okay. Your user data, metadata, all this information gets stored in this particular file. Okay. Table space also gets stored in data files. Okay. Now what is table space? One or more data files form a logical unit of database that is called table space. Also, please note that data stored in files in terms of blocks. Okay. And size of block basically depends on the operating system. Now we have temporary files. Okay. Used for temporary storage. Okay. Supports many like operations such as sorting or some sort of intermediate results written by queries. Okay. So these temporary files use the temporary table spaces. Okay. So that's about files in Oracle. So that's about Oracle database architecture. Okay. So we have covered all the major components which basically forms Oracle database architecture, starting from Oracle processes to Oracle files. Okay. To sum up, basically three major components are there: Oracle processes, then we have Oracle database instance, okay, wherein like SGA and PGAs are there, okay, then Oracle database files. Okay. So these three major components forms Oracle database architecture. Okay. Hope you would have liked this particular video. I have taken help from Oracle documentation in order to create this video. I'll provide a link in the description box. Please go through that link if you want to know more about it. Okay. We'll stop here. Okay. Please keep providing your comment in the comment box. I'll try to incorporate those comments in my upcoming videos. Okay. Till then, goodbye. Keep watching. Thank you.